All right, let's call this Ethics and Election Committee meeting together here. It's about 3 minutes after 12 on.
Ballot. You know, you give us your ID, you know, even over the telephone, if you can give me your voter ID, last four of social, birth date, you know, name and address, we're gonna mail you a replacement ballot. We're not gonna make it more difficult than that. And you're gonna get it, the replacement ballot, but the rule is first in counts. So if you end up mailing 2 ballots and signing both of them, the first one is gonna count. If somebody steals your mail and signs it illegally, you know, we're gonna have a signature problem, and that one will be rejected. And ultimately, if you send in yours, it'll, with your ballot signature, that one will be the one that'll count.
Well, it would be nice for us to brag after we get a huge voter turnout. You know, and you can determine what a huge voter turnout is, and given what we had in the past years, anything's gonna be better.
Well, I think the most recent election in the Valley had like 10% or something like that. It was pretty abysmal. So I'm, you know, if we get 40% or whatever here, some of the other jurisdictions are going to look at that and go, wow, maybe that vote by mail is the way to go, you know?
Is the state doing anything?
Yes.
What?
Well, the state created an election policy work group, and they're really moving pretty fast. And they actually went to Colorado in September. And interestingly, they like the Colorado model. It's a hybrid model of by mail with some polling locations, but they have a Bell and Howell machine and Dominion tabulation, which is exactly what we have. So we're really happy about that that's the model they're looking at. So they're moving forward. There are going to be a couple of presentations. Actually, I'm not sure if there is going to be a presentation from the elections at AAMC. I'm not sure. They have another meeting during AML, and then all of the clerks in town are coming to our election centers. So we have a little visit down there on Wednesday after AAMC. So the state is moving. I think they have issues, money, legislation, rural Alaska, those are the issues, and we can send you an update about the policy work group meetings if you'd like.
Mr. Dunbar.
Good.
Yeah, just because we're talking about it, and I so rarely get to talk about election policy. How does a hybrid system work? How do you determine where you put the in-person polling stations? Because I could imagine a system in Alaska where logically you put it in the urban areas, but that to me creates a pretty clear equal protection or equivalent argument underneath the Alaska Constitution.
I think it's just the opposite. I think they believe that Anchorage is going to be easy to go by mail. I think the problems that they're facing are in rural Alaska, and so these are the problems that I've heard, is that people don't have post offices or mailing addresses, or if people do have post office boxes, they share with 2 or 3 families, and people are concerned that that could affect the turnout and the turnout with Native voters. So the idea then would be to have some polling locations in some places in rural Alaska. The dilemma is that they would most likely be municipal clerks that would be the polling location. And how that's going to work out, you know, the state is going to have to work that out with the clerks. I'm not positive I don't know if that's right or wrong. We would do it because we believe that constituents don't know the difference between the Division of Elections and the municipal clerk's office. But the other dilemma that they have is that some polling locations are in people's houses in rural Alaska, and some of those will continue to be in people's houses. And all I can say is I'm glad I don't have those problems.
Sure. Yep.
Well, and to me, you know, I always thought that vote by mail made a lot of sense in rural Alaska because the weather in November can be, pretty bad in certain parts of the state. And so if somebody's got to travel 20 miles or whatever it is in bad weather to vote, you would think that it would be safer, much safer, to vote by mail. But if you don't have a doggone post office, it's kind of hard to vote by mail.
Well, we agree with that, and I think one of the things that Amanda has pointed out before is just getting the equipment from the state to Nome is like $6,000. So those costs are, you know, I think given the aging election equipment and the cost of getting that equipment to rural Alaska, I think the state has to make a decision. So their decision is just harder, and that's why they're looking at the hybrid and how that's going to turn out. I just don't know, but I will keep you posted from what I hear.
Sort of a moving target at this point. All right. So is there any old business? We're down past new business. Any old business that we want to bring up from past meetings that we didn't quite get completely covered or anything? Anything from the audience participation? I don't see an audience here. So I guess we'll adjourn.